You know it, the first known dreamer to allege that he was wrongly removed from the country by U.S. border agents has gotten himself back into some trouble. 23-year-old Juan Manuel Montes became the face of the pro-DACA movement earlier this year as the first so-called dreamer deported by the country from the Trump administration. Like clockwork, the plight became the stuff of media sob stories.
Why did the Trump administration just deport someone who's been in the country since he was 9?
It's alarming and scary to know that no one is safe anymore. This young person was detained and deported. It's very scary.
Family members say Montez is in Mexico tonight, still hoping he can come home.
Well, it turns out he may not be so innocent. Montez was caught late Monday trying to sneak back into the United States, all the while awaiting the results of a lawsuit he brought to re-enter the country legally. For insight, we turn to someone on the front lines of this never-ending battle. Joining us is Art Del Cueto. He's the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council and a Border Patrol agent. And this is a fascinating story for a lot of reasons. First, he claimed that he was unfairly deported, but it turns out that he left the United States, I guess, voluntarily, and then tries to sneak back in Monday and like fell down, and then he ran from Border Patrol agents, and they ran after him. I guess they tackled him. What do you think about situations like this where he becomes the poster child of the Dreamer movement?
I guess if we caught him, we're doing our job, right? I mean, first and foremost. But, you know, I think you have an individual that at some point he's got to face reality and just stop lying. You know, he's been in this country, and I understand people are saying he's been in this country since he was at a very young age, but he was lying the entire time. He lied about being deported the first time from by Border Patrol. You know, I've read part of the story, and there's no evidence that he was ever deported the first time. He more than likely left on his own. Then he turns around and he files some type of lawsuit, and then he drops the lawsuit. So, I mean, if he's so correct and he's doing everything right, there's a lot of red flags here. And now he gets caught again, trying to enter the country illegally again. And the bottom line is, Laura, there's got to be consequences. That's what the problem is. There's not enough consequences for individuals that are breaking our laws. There's not enough consequences for the individuals that continuously, you know, thumb the Border Patrol, and, you know, they just false lies and disrespect. And that's the big thing. And that's where it upsets me. You know, as a representative of all these agents, they're out there in the most rough terrain, in rigorous areas. You know, they're by themselves a lot of times. And, you know, they need to start taking care of the agents out there, too.
And Mr.
There's
Del Cueto,
hundreds of stories. I mean,
can I ask you just one question? There seems to be a story about attrition among Border Patrol agents, that we're not replacing agents as quickly as they're leaving the force. Why is that? They're failing polygraph tests, I understand. They're going to other law enforcement agencies within the government. But we need these Border Patrol agents. Donald Trump, in his immigration priorities package, said he wants to, double the number almost of Border Patrol agents or more.
Right, and I think that's great to double the number and get more. We're under the congressional mandate. The reality, though, is we need to start taking care of the Border Patrol agents that are working right now. We can hire 5,000 more agents, but if you don't retain the experience from the agents that are there, that's where the issue is. We are working the most rough terrains, like I said before. We get assaulted more. A lot of these assaults on these agents, they go unprosecuted. That's another slap in the face. So, you know, you need to have some kind of pay equity, is what I'm saying. It doesn't help that we can hire 5,000 more agents if we're going to lose 5,000 agents now.
No, it's ridiculous.
That should be the number one priority. The number one priority means you need to take care of the agents now.
Art, among the Border Patrol agents, very quickly here, is the mood, though, better? Do the agents seem to feel a little bit more at ease under President Trump than they did under Obama, or they don't really pay attention to who's president?
No, the agents are definitely paying attention. That's one thing that people need to understand. We have very, very smart Border Patrol agents out there, and they're definitely paying attention. Is the mood better now and the morale better than when it was under Obama? Most definitely. However, we can't stop there. The reality is the morale is not where it should be. And the way you get that morale where it should be is you properly take care of the agents that are working right now. The agents that are constantly out there on that line, putting their lives on the line.
Yeah, and not getting paid a lot in most cases. Art, thank you very much. And also tonight, there's some controversy brewing at the Department of Homeland Security. According to the Washington Post, Elaine Duke, who's the acting Homeland Security Secretary, was set to extend residency permits to over 50,000 Hondurans who are currently living in the United States. Now, this apparently did not sit well with White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, who reportedly called Duke and demanded she expel the Hondurans immediately. Now the Washington Post says Duke felt pressured by political forces and threatened to resign. DHS pushed back on that report earlier today. But regardless, one can't help but feel this case bears a striking similarity to that of Sally Yates, who earlier this year defied the Trump White House as the acting attorney general. To help us make sense of this reported turmoil inside the Department of Homeland Security is Andrew Arthur, the resident fellow in law and policy for the Center for Immigration Studies. All right, Andrew, give me a sense here about what's going on, because she is an acting DHS secretary. These Hondurans were supposed to be removed from the United States, and reportedly she gives them temporary reprieve against the wishes of the chief executive of the government, President Trump, through John Kelly.
Yeah, Honduras has been the beneficiary of what's called temporary protected status for almost 20 years. The State Department had cleared on the return of these individuals back to Honduras. There was no reason for them not to be returned, and yet Acting Secretary Duke decided to extend for another 6 months their presence in the United States, noting that they may be removed at the end of that period, but at the same time continuing it for no apparent reason whatsoever.
Well, and they were here and they get this protected status because of what? Because of a hurricane? Because of what is it? What's the reason?
The reason that they received temporary protected status initially was because of Hurricane Mitch, which took place in 1998. What? Since then, yeah.
What? 1998? What? Explain that to me. Okay, 1998 is a long time ago. Why would you still get protected status in the United States? Presumably, all these years later, you can return to your homeland. So it seems that John Kelly, through the president instructing him, okay, this has got to end now. We've spent money, we've taken care of you, now it's time to go home. So she is an Obama holdover, correct? The DHS acting secretary?
That's correct.
That's a problem, don't you think? That's a big problem.
It's just simply pushing the problem over to the plate of the incoming secretary, or hopefully incoming secretary, Kirstjen Nielsen, to make the decision, to make the tough decision 4 months before the midterm elections. And quite frankly, it just doesn't make sense. The time has come for this temporary status for these folks to end. The reasons that have been given over the last 18 years that they've been allowed to be here have been, they've received too much rain, too little rain, there's been coffee rust.
Oh my gosh.
The reasons are just ridiculous.
Well, I've got to say, that has to come to an end. But how about the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security's tenure coming to an end? We need that to come to an end, because just like in the State Department, it's happening in the State Department as well. The president's mandate, his views, his policies are being thwarted by Obama holdovers or by career bureaucrats in the case of the State Department. And this is really thwarting the democracy, thwarting the election results. And I don't remember, and maybe you can fill me in, Andrew, I don't remember Obama having a lot of former Bush people in thwarting his will. Do you remember any circumstances where Bush holdovers were saying, no, we're just not going to do that. We're not going to do those policies?
I certainly don't remember that. And, you know, I can tell you that most of the people that staff these departments on a permanent basis are probably more in line with President Obama than they are with President Trump. And that might be a big part of the reason why you see a difference. But the Senate needs to get these folks confirmed, get the politicals into the positions where they can make these hard decisions.
The biting back of the swamp monsters. They're biting back. I appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks so much. And up next, Congress is seemingly in no hurry to get tax reform done, but they're happy to skip town early. We're going to hold them accountable. Up next.